at us go. Hey everybody, welcome to Whiskey and Bagels. I think this is episode 15. With me as always is...
astrologer and life coach, Penny Dix.
We do it over again, but we probably wouldn't do it any better than we just did. So thank you guys again for all your likes and subscribes. I have an intuitive development class coming up. If you become a member, you get a discount on it. Might want to join that. Jump into the membership side of it. And Penny, what's going on with you?
Well, I've just finished recording my September horoscopes, and I'm bringing in a little bit of a twist because I've decided to do all the individual signs as separate short videos, and I'm calling them heads up videos. So heads up Aries, heads up Taurus. And I've decided to add, and this is because we've been doing this a bit together in some of our videos, I then do the astrological reading, and then I pick up a card for the day or for the month. So I'm putting a card.
We'll shuffle those up and we'll grab a card for today too.
All right. Okay.
Just remind, not right this second, but
I'm doing that for each of the signs.
Wonderful.
In my September. It's making it a little bit more interesting for me, and hopefully more interesting for me. It'll be more interesting for everybody out there. So.
We really just do this for our own edification. We really do.
I know we're recording this, but everyone will be interested to hear about what goes on behind the scenes. But I spoke to my tech guy, Jerry, today, and he said, well, basically, these videos you do with Brandon, he flirts with you, you flirt back, you mumble something about astrology, and then you talk about Trump. And then you flirt a bit more.
You have to talk about some world politics. You have to talk a little bit about that, because that's
whatever you're doing, I really like it.
Right? Flirt,
right, this is our card for today.
Flirt, mumble, junk. Like basically is what he's doing. Oh,
this
all
is
right,
our
hold on a
card
second.
today.
I have something to show. I have something very big to show you.
Hang on a minute.
I went to a gem show.
Oh, fabulous!
And I got a really great piece. I got a really great piece.
Fabulous. Which particular stone is it?
How about the Queen of Pentacles?
Oh.
Practical and noteworthy.
Absolutely. That's
grounded.
me.
I'm very grounded. It's very focused all of a sudden.
Yeah, you sound.
So
must
for
be that
me,
more going into Gemini.
We'll do a couple of more cards here in a minute, but I want to show you something.
We haven't interpreted it.
Oh, the World card. This is about ending cycles.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Pluto returns with the US. You have narcissistic behavior in politicians, just not Trump. Here in the US, it's an all-time high. You've also got a lot of people looking and facing their own personal stuff. And, even the Queen of Pentacles is about you saying, this is the only stuff I need. Like, it's the true getaway. I mean, we had the full moon in Aquarius just a few days ago, and that was about, that manifestation of replacing all the stuff that you've been letting go and making sure you're super practical. I mean, Aquarius is the most practical of the air signs, but it's almost kind of mean, where Libra tends to be a little more balanced, and Gemini seems to be a little more fun. Yes. But that being said, it's it makes a lot of sense. What's your take on that? How about the World card?
Well, the World card, I think, is quite interesting, because I suspect that we don't really know what we're saying today, because we never do. But I think because we want to talk about the Mars in Gemini, which happens on Saturday the 20th, it's going to be there for 7 months. This is going to affect the whole world. And I think it's going to affect different parts of the world in different ways. I have another video up already about Mars in Gemini, if anyone wants to go and watch it on my channel.
I love it. I love your work. As I've told you often, I fall asleep to your voice.
Thank you, Brandon.
I've actually been busy loading up member content behind the scenes for new members. And it's exclusive content. Some of it will get released public, but most of it is kind of behind the scenes. I want behind the scenes stuff for members. And it's just, get into the all access side of it. If you want mentorship, we do, the calendar is going to be out here in about a week. about the different things about becoming a practitioner, about how to develop your mediumship, even if you're not necessarily going to be a medium, if you're going to be an astrologer, if you're going to work with tarot, you've got to get that intuitive development piece of it going. But I want to show you this. I want to tease it.
Oh my God.
How great is this kyanite?
Awesome. Oh my God.
This was my find of the show.
Oh,
and
stunning.
kyanite tends to be a little brittle, but there's mica.
Kyanite.
Yeah, this is Archangel Michael's sword. Really, this is what it's made out of. And even the quartz resonant that's in here, when I first picked it up, I thought it was tourmaline. It's could be a tourmaline, but it's so covered in inclusions and what have you. But it's really, as I'm dropping this into my coffee, I wonder if kyanite, I can drink it because it just dropped in my coffee.
All right, brilliant. What's the it'll inspire you with Archangel Michael, but do you know what the symbolic meaning of that particular stone is? Do you know what it is?
Well, talk to me about it. I mean, I know quite a bit about it. I know when Archangel Michael showed up, his feathers were covered in it.
Oh, really?
Oh,
no,
I think kyanite is a much deeper stone. It's a very unique thing because it's kind of half in between shale and sedentary rock. So it's a very hard rock, but you can splinter it. So it's kind of like it's being able to like be strong, but letting go at the same time. There's so much symbolism to it. What's your take on kyanite?
Well, actually, I don't know because I'm not really, I do know a bit about crystals, but I'm not an actual expert. So
well, none of us are experts, but we're on this trip together. And kyanite is, blue kyanite is about your strength. It's about your protection. It's about using your voice. It's a good stone.
Oh, yes.
Right.
I've got a piece.
It's a good stone for me. And when and it also, it also doesn't hurt when it's pretty.
It's no,
just like you. By the way, this just in, ears in the control room, crystal expert, angelic communication with spirit and connection. Perfect for what we're about to talk about with Mars and Gemini.
Yeah, and it's the throat chakra, isn't it?
It's going to help your throat chakra. Any of the blue crystals, blue agates, are going to be focused in on the throat chakra. That's blue. So there's that. By the way, become a member. These are the types of things that I talk about in the library. I call it the Akashic Library. It's being built right now. A lot of these videos I just have to go through and make sure they're still appropriate to put out there into public, even though it's in the membership view. But I've been doing this work for a really long time. It's just a matter of formalizing it and what have you. But yeah, it was a great job at the Crystal, at the Gem Show. Is that there were the few people that are going with me to Sedona. I actually have 3 spots left on that. Just send me a message if you're interested. I do have to get it squared away by the end of August if you're interested in going. And we're going to be at the New York State Fair with our goods and wares, if you will, on Labor Day weekend. Labor Day is a big deal here. It's kind of the end of summer. It's the wrap up of things.
Which date is Labor Day?
Labor Day is it's typically the first full weekend of September, where you have all 3 dates: the Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Basically, the first Monday in September. It could go up to the 7th. So I think it's the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The 5th is actually Labor Day, so it makes sense. Okay. But we have that going on. So let's in crazy politics, crazy energies, everything we came to think of that, people were going to start slinging mud and, President, King of Chaos. King Chaos. I'm just going to start calling him King Chaos because that's just who he is. But you're seeing it also in behaviors and in connection with people.
What's happening in the States at the moment? What's happening news-wise in the States?
It's all about the misdirect and the over-explanation. It's like it's the convoluted part of like, oh my gosh, well they violated my rights, and who raids and that sort of thing. And that's why the Department of Justice had basically pulled a 1-2 on him and basically said, we're going to actually explain why. And they went out there and they said, all of the things that he's saying are speculative lies. We have had communication with him since he left office about this paperwork. And the gravity of it is that I think people just don't recognize, people don't realize he had nuclear information in his closet. Why would you do that at your resort home that is visited by dignitaries on a regular basis if you're not going to sell them or you're not going to compromise? He's compromising every military person out there. He's compromising every citizen out there. He's compromised his party, and his party is like celebrating him. It's the biggest act of insanity. We've been talking about the great divide coming. We've been talking about the great reveal coming. This guy is an agent of that. This guy is 100% just showing, like, if I told you 20 years ago, there's going to be a man that's going to sit in the White House, that's going to carry home secretive documents and keep it in his basement for when his international friends come over, you're going to go like, the hell is going on there? And now we're villainizing the people that did the investigation. Liz Cheney, by the way, is up for primary election today. She's going to lose badly. She's going to lose horribly. But she's just going to reposition for a place in the White House. I'm just telling you. I called my shot on this. Her chart is so rich with leadership. And this is something I realized. She's breaking a family cycle. Now, her husband was Dick Cheney, or her father was Dick Cheney. She's not from that part of Wyoming. She's breaking a family cycle here. Dick Cheney is one of the most, if you had asked me who I think the most devious person in American politics have been over the last 50 years, I wouldn't have said Lyndon B. Johnson, who signed off on the Kennedy assassination. I would have said Dick Cheney, because he had advanced knowledge of 9/11 and didn't stop it. He had some sort of orchestration connected to it. And I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, because there are just smoking guns that were never sorted out. Liz Cheney is breaking a cycle right now and saying, you know what, we need to hold people in office accountable. She can't hold her dad accountable. She's not in that position. She can personally be in that position, but she can't do it whatever. She's doing the next best thing and saying the next bombastic jackwagon that's taking advantage of the American public is basically being called to task. I think she's breaking a family cycle. She's saying what my dad did isn't okay. And even though he's doing advertisements for her and all that other stuff, she's breaking the family cycle. And by the way, the family cycle was also do what you can, stay under the radar, keep getting elected. Her father had like six. I mean, he was elected 6, 7, 8 times. He's never lost an election. Now here's Liz Cheney losing an election. She's breaking a cycle for other reasons. There's going to be something bigger coming for her. I think it's the White House. I'm telling you, I just think she's going to be at a minimum, she's going to be in a prominent position there. So yeah, see, we talk about other things other than Trump.
Yes. Can I ask you something, which I'm not sure if I heard it on the news, but it's actually quite relevant, but I'm sure I did hear it on the news, that in the last couple of days or so, a car rammed into the Capitol building.
What's that? You broke up a little bit.
Somebody drove a car into the Capitol building, like in the last couple of days.
Oh, this was actually an FBI. So yeah, you've got tensions here where these people are so riled up by the rhetoric, and they're attached to January 6th. They think that the coup should have happened. We should have overrun the government. Who cares who dies? And they've been told to stand down. Well, they're still riled up. A guy went into the FBI, if it's the same conversation, guy went into an FBI building in Cincinnati, nowhere near the insurrection, and basically started shooting at FBI agents because he thought this was divine justice. And you know, it's funny, Bill Maher brought up a really great point in one of his sessions. He's always talking about political and apolitical things. And he's talking about how Hollywood basically has created this monster of showing men that the only way you can get back at somebody is like this revenge stuff. I mean, Die Hard. I mean, all of these movies, The Bourne Identity, like all of these movies are just simply revenge movies, you know, and it's like, that's how men are taught to cope with things. Well, the environment is ripe for us to be able to be like, for them to tap into it and be like, you know, the only true revenge here is you know, is shooting somebody, hunting them down. That's why you're seeing, it's one of the factors as to why you're seeing it. But this guy was shot dead. I mean, you walk into a building full of marksmen, literally full of marksmen, and you start opening fire, you are not making it out of there. I'm sorry. Even if you miss everybody like a stormtrooper, you're going down, right?
Let me tell you something really interesting. When I did my research for Mars moving into Gemini.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that.
Mars is also having its Mars return in the United States birth chart. And it has obviously a Mars return every couple of years, because we know Mars only takes a couple of years roughly to go around the zodiac. So I Googled, because I've got it written down here, what was happening when we had the last Mars return, which was in April 2021. And basically it was pretty much the same as today. There were shootings, COVID was a big thing, and a car rammed into the Capitol building.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. So currently it's, you know, I mean, listen, and as we know, I'm going to go to the chart here. Mars and Gemini. I mean, you know, we have this ability to, you know, look at this and be like, hey, you know, what are the cycles? As an astrologer, I mean, it's like, you know, we get some criticism, like, hey, you're too political, but it's a common language, just like astrology, and we're using it. We're applying the cycles of how things roll, right? We're applying the cycles of life. You're saying the Mars returns, and what that is. So where was Mars?
Well, Mars for the Pluto, sorry, Mars in the US chart returns exact degree. I haven't actually got the chart, but I can find it. Mars returns 21 degrees of Gemini, and it returns on the 4th of October this year. So that's when I looked at what was happening the last time it got to 21 degrees, which was in April 2021. And it just struck me as funny that the car had rammed into the Capitol building. So,
well, and listen, there's always going to be, you know, anyone who wants to dismiss it is going to say, hey, you know, oh, well, you know, things happen and you got to match it up, and whether it means whatever. There's multiple weather patterns for conditions as to why it happens. Sometimes those weather conditions make it worse. Sometimes it makes it more prevalent. Sometimes it makes it more specific, right? So one of the things, I mean, you know, this is a beautiful chart. You know, we're looking at August the 20th. And you've also, this is right before the new moon as well, because you're going to make the transit into Virgo. You know, into this. I paid attention a lot. And by the way, the videos that I have from the members right now is taking a look at Zelensky and Putin. So if you like that work, Zelensky in Virgo season, Putin in Virgo season, Trump in Virgo season, all those videos are up there. And it's worth your membership there. I'm going to show them when the time is right in snippets, but I pay a lot of attention to what's going on in the moons when when we get into a particular season, Virgo season, Leo season, whatever. That's how I'm going to approach this moving forward. But look at the conjuncts. You know, we're at a near conjunct, if not a full conjunct, with Mars entering into Gemini right here. You've got the moon in Gemini here, and they're going to cross over each other within minutes of this, within a day or so. So I think that's the first thing I pay attention to, is where the conjuncts are and what houses they're in, and it's in the 8th house. You know, what's your take on it? I want to go a little bit deeper into that, because we've got the North Node, and we've still got this now we're getting into a very wide conjunct of Uranus, North Node, and Mars, but I still think it's noteworthy. What's your take on Mars stepping into this in the 8th house?
Well, you see,
Gemini.
Mars going into Gemini. Gemini is an air sign, so Mars isn't going to be that comfortable in an air sign. And as he's a fire planet, I think we're looking at hot air or people getting hot under the collar, and a lot of arguments, because Mars can be argumentative, and Gemini has this kind of duality, this twin kind of appearance. So I think that I think it's also interesting that the moon is in Gemini on the same day that Mars moves in there. So they're too wide really for a conjunct, but the moon is just also highlighting the fact that Mars has just moved into Gemini. And Mars is actually widely, I think it's actually trining Pluto. Trining Pluto. And so, and you've already got the build-up of this Uranus-Saturn square, which we're going to get again, which will be exact in October. So we're going to see that unfolding over the next couple of months.
You've got the Saturn square. The Saturn square, I think, is I think it's a major aspect, to be frank with you. I think it's a major aspect, because one of the, I mean, don't forget, when we explain the different angles, conjunct means it's together, right? Opposition means it's opposed, right? When it's conjunct, it's kind of like highlighted, emphasized, the best of the best, the worst of the worst, all that kind of combines. When it's in opposition, it means that it kind of pulls out the polarity of it. When it's trine or sextile, it's kind of different levels of like positive, kind of subtle influences, sometimes direct, sometimes indirect. But the one you always got to pay attention to are the squares, the T squares in particular, because in a way to explain the squares, it's this right here. It's literally up against it like this. It's like getting T-boned. It's literally coming at you live, right?
Yeah.
So Saturn in our structure is getting T-boned, is T-boning Mars. So our structure is under investigation here, right? Yeah. And then you've got this other dynamic here where it's our rising sign with Libra. The ascendant of Libra creates this other square that basically is like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, we're going to be a little unbalanced here at the end of the summer.
Yeah, and you've got these air signs. You've got Gemini as an air sign, Libra is an air sign, Aquarius, where Saturn is sitting, is an air sign. So you've got this kind of well, as I say, I think with Mars in Gemini, you've got hot air, you've got steam, you've got it's boiling. It's just going to, I think energy will really start building from the weekend.
Can you see my notes right now?
Can I see your what?
My notes. You can still just see the chart, right?
No, I can't see any notes. I can just
see good. Well, I wrote down some notes here, and the strengths with this is that there's going to be a lot of conversations. We're going to want to network. We're going to want to pull on challenges that you've had, old friends, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The weakness of this, and again, you can apply this to political stuff, you can apply it to whatever, you could kind of be a little impatient. By the way, impatience might also be what gets you unstuck. So impatience isn't always a bad thing. You just have to be cautious with how impatient you are, right? You might not be really focused because you might want to just talk. But the opportunities are that if you can control that, you can really build on it, right? This is a great time for people like you and I that are kind of in the slash performance of whatever our specialty is, because there's expansion in this. This is a great time to make a bunch of videos, to do a bunch of work with this. Now, the only thing, that's really kind of cutting in all of this in a big way is that you don't want to forsake your lesson because you don't want to learn your lesson. You don't want to give up new opportunities because you are kind of an asshole. Like the Mars in Gemini is kind of like, you could have intelligent conversation, great time for the kids to go back to school, by the way, Great time for the kids to go back to school.
Yeah.
You know, because it is about intelligent conversation and that sort of thing. The back end of that is, you know, careful what you say. You know, don't say, oh, I had a better summer than you. Oh, look who gained 5 pounds over the summer. No. That could be your tendency in this. It could also be something of saying too much, which, by the way, have you noticed Donald Trump pleading the fifth every time? Like, come on. I go back to the Trump video. If he just did the right thing, all he has to do is say, guys, I'm sorry, I didn't act appropriately. But his damn ego, this fuels an ego that's out of control. It also influences an ego in control to get you to where you need to. Same energy. It's just how it's applied. And this Mars in Gemini is a great gift if you're advancing in your career. And even though this isn't necessarily a career signia, that's why you really, truly have to apply the idea that when you go and you pursue opportunities, when you pursue things, when you want to kind of grow them, you've got to measure twice and cut once with your words. Because Gemini, being highly communicative, and Mars, there's a difference between aggression and being cutting. You know, this isn't a time to say like, oh, I know what makes me better. You know what makes me better? Not that person. You know, like how many people do that comparison? Like they look good because the other person looks bad. This is not a time to do that. Make yourself look good, period. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. And, you know, we've also got to remember that, you know, Gemini is about communication. It's also about the internet. And, you know, I wonder if because Mars is the god of war, are we going to see some cyber attacks with Mars in this place?
Well, and let's talk about Gemini being in the 8th house here.
Yeah.
Right? It's you know, it's opposite to the 2nd house. But look at the 3rd house. The house of communication is wide open.
Yes.
So if your tendency is to be influenced one way or influenced another way, you're going to go extreme.
Yeah.
You just are. Great time to have a book come out too, by the way. Final edits are in place.
How's your book going?
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm having the time of my life. I just need like another 20 hours in the day. It would be done already. You know, my poor editor has like my brain like dumped out in her lap every email, and she's just like, what the frick, like, what is this? But hey, I also wanted to point out the energy here of what we've got going on with Neptune in retrograde.
Yeah.
Right? What do we have opposite of that? That's our communication right there.
Yeah, Mercury.
So we could really be prone to the undoing, and we may be right. That's the whole thing. Mercury talks about saying and doing things. Virgo talks about it doing the right way, doing the right things. In the 12th house, you may absolutely be 100% correct, but it doesn't mean that you did it the right way. In other words, you could blow somebody out of the water that's like doing something they shouldn't do, but should you ever do that? That's the question. There is a toll to pay if you're a karmatic partner with somebody you want to call their shit. There just is, because that could be like, careful what you say. Anything you can and will be held against you. It's the Miranda warning. That's what I would say to this. Mars and Gemini, I'm going to give you the Miranda warning. Anything you say or do can and will be held against you. Don't think that you can work. You might be right. You know, if you call somebody out and you're like, oh, you're A, B, and C, and that's fine, but know that there's going to be backlash. Know that there's going to be retribution, because Neptune is about somebody's illusion. If you want to bust up somebody's illusion, of their happiness, of their grandeur or whatever, there's going to be repercussions. I mean, look, you know, take the Trump thing. He's swinging a cat to try and, first of all, he's got more excuses. He's got more excuses than an entire high school in the Northeast. Like, I mean, the guy changes the story every day. Like, oh, well, I just declassified it. If he had just picked one of his excuses and stuck with it, he might become believable. He might. He can't do it. He keeps talking. So it becomes his undoing. His illusions are going to come crashing down based on this chart.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
And it's interesting because you've got Pluto in the 4th house in Capricorn. And there's something about Capricorn on the 4th house makes home a very cold place. And I mean cold in the sense that you don't necessarily feel particularly welcome there. It feels sterile, cold, like you're kind of shut out. So I wonder if there's something about that with this kind of energy. And yet Pluto is making a wide trine to Mars in Gemini. So there is, there is that aspect as well.
Well, I'm also looking at the square here of Mercury to Pluto to Jupiter.
Well, Mercury is actually trining Pluto. And then you've got, you haven't really got much.
Oh, it is trine. Okay, I'm seeing it wrong. Okay, so it's a trine. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's, so there's this trine energy, and then you lift it up. So that just means that there's that influence of like, you're going to try and get your power base here. You're going to try and talk your way out of it. Nope. Stand and face the music and tell the truth. It'll be over in 2 minutes. No, that's the thing. It's like that scene in Contact with Jodie Foster, when she's in the ship, where they said, instead of just following the directions, they thought they were smarter than the directions. They thought they were smarter than this off-planet evolved alien beings. And they were like, well, this is the minimum for protection. Meanwhile, they bolted, her chair to the wall, and it was just beating her up. She's shaking violently. And her compass, and by the way, tons of symbolism in on this, is just simply floating. She's like, what am I doing? So she unlatches herself. She gets out of the chair breaks away, gets crushed against the wall, and realizing that, you know what? She has to follow her intuition. Highly intuitive time, by the way. Highly intuitive time, because you have Pluto in the 4th house. Look at that 8th house. Yeah. That 8th house is rocking. It is rocking, right? Yeah. And then the 12th house of communication, it's going to be a great big funny you should say that. What a great time to put the finishing touches on a book called Funny You Should Say That.
And it's really interesting listening to you at the moment, Brandon, because you actually sound as if you are acting out Mars in Gemini. You sound. Somebody
gets me. Penny, have I ever? Don't you realize that that's part of the shtick? Being able to take on the chart or the person or the whatever. It's true channeling, right? Yeah. I wish I could manage it a little bit differently, but you're right. It is talking a little bit too much. It is talking through the problem, but it's also coming up with solutions. Yeah. Mars in Gemini is solution based. Yeah. Either it can come from you or someone else. It's tower moments, really. If we were to pull tarot spread on this, which I think we should do, I think we should do, 3 tarot cards based on what it should be to personal, and then we'll do it again to society. And then, I don't know, we'll read each other. I don't know. We'll try something new. We'll read each other. But how exciting is it that the weather right now, like, and look at Venus up here in the 10th house. Yeah. 10th house Venus is a little survival mode, but loving what you do. If you're up for a career change, this is a great time to keep looking. And not just a job change, a career change. Career change. Because you just went over the fortune. You're in Leo. Look for those opportunities. So that combination, if you're looking for a new job or a new career, this networking thing is going to get emphasized. This having good conversations. If you go into a job interview and you want to talk politics, you're not going to get the job in the United States right now. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. You're just not. People are tired of it, even within this video, which is why even when we touch it, it's just, we're being apolitical, but we're talking about the human condition.
True.
Understand when we talk about politics, we're talking about the human condition. I want Donald Trump to look in the camera and say, I did this the wrong way, and I'm sorry. I didn't know. I was underqualified. If he ever said that,
will ever happen.
do you have any idea how much would be cured? Right? I want Lindsey Graham to say, I was a puppet to the master. I want Rudy Giuliani to say, I was really running up my billing hours because I saw this as a final cash cow for myself. I want Liz Cheney to look in the camera and say, my dad messed up, and the only way I can overcome that is if I take down somebody else that did something equally as dastardly. I want to see Nancy Pelosi turn around and say, you know what? I had insider trading. I moved all my stocks at the right minute, voted on a bill, and I got the windfall on it. I want Joe Biden to say, I need to step down because my son is an absolute train wreck and he hurts people. And I failed him in some way and I have to focus in on it. Like, that's being across the aisle. That's the human condition. That's why we talk about astrology with politicians. It's the human theater being played out.
And how is it for you? Because it's just, I just have to keep coming back to the fact that it's so interesting observing you today, because you are kind of like firing on all cylinders, and it's almost impossible. And I know people are going to say, but oh God, I've got a bloody fly.
Hi, Palma. I sent you something. Did you get it yet?
Oh.
You okay?
I just got a fly on me. Go away. God. But it's like, it really is difficult to get a word in edgeways with you today. And I don't know whether it is that you're just channeling that Mars in Gemini, but it feels like the Mars is really winding you up.
Well, I am Mars in Capricorn in my natal.
Okay. Well, I've got Mars in Gemini natally.
Oh, do you really? So this is your Mars return.
So I will get my Mars return, not just yet, because my Mars is at, I think it's at 23 degrees. So
so you got a little bit of time then.
But Mars will also conjunct my natal Mercury, because I've got natal Mercury in Gemini.
That's interesting, because I'm really predominant in Pisces with my Mercury, with my Venus, sun sign, what have you. And I think sometimes you can over conjunct, if you will. So for me, it's kind of like, we're just going to go with the flow. Over preparing is like the kiss of death for me.
Mm-hmm.
It just is, because then it creates an expectation that's not good, right? That you'll never meet. I don't mean to talk over you. I'm just excited about this as a topic. I think you've talked plenty. I know.
I felt like I was being sort of run over by a train.
Because of my excitement?
Yes. But I have to say it because we make these videos real. So,
true.
People need to know how I feel, and somehow we're probably acting out what some of us may expect with Mars in Gemini for 7 months, and that people will get riled, wound up. I just felt if I didn't say something, it was going to create some kind of, I don't know, something that would just not be good. So I thought, right, I'm just going to say what I'm observing.
So what you're saying is that my rant wasn't good?
No, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I'm observing how you are approaching the topic, and it's like you are Mars.
Yeah,
you are being Mars, and you are actually kind of acting out exactly what Mars in Gemini,
what the behavior may be. And it's like, I hope I didn't say too much. I hope I'm in that lane of discovery, because I get excited when we start exchanging like really good ideas.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really looking forward to this, when it comes to, like the other projects that I've got going on, like a podcast, and I've got some really cool guests with that. And it's just, I love what we have in the astrology piece of it. You're it for me. But, it's funny. I met this one person who creates these journals. They're handmade, and they had I don't know, 500 of them on this table. And I'm like, all these are handmade? And she's like, yeah, make them all. And the artist was there, and he makes jewelry, and he just toils at this. He just sits down, he does it, and they're all handmade, they're all hand whatever. And I'm like, I want to know that person. We started talking, and he's from Romania originally, but he's been in the US for 30 years. And he said, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And he goes, I just woke up one day and just started to make it. And, you know, every dollar I made, I put back into it. And it was very good quality. I'm just going to say very good, not excellent, but very good. Like what you would want for a keepsake or a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I bought one just for my song lyrics, just for the things that I want to connect with. And, you know, with the songwriter that I'm working with on the West Coast and everything else, like I've got to keep my projects in order. And that's another thing with the Mars and Gemini. There is a tremendousness of, like, that was a Trump word, by the way. There's a tremendousness. I write tremendous lyrics.
I must say, you do an excellent impersonation.
I pretty much do. Basically, you just drop your voice and let your brain go numb. And then I do an excellent Trump. That's terrible. All right, so it's time for therapy.
Yeah.
Penny, you're the therapist, and I'm Mars and Gemini.
Okay.
But apparently we already screwed the pooch on this one because I already acted like it. But
you know,
let's go there though. So if you were going to treat somebody in therapy, you know, as a therapist, and Mars and Gemini was their challenge, or you're trying to coach them through it, how would you approach it? Like, what would you ask?
I would say, what are you really angry about? What is really pissing you off?
I have to get in character for that one. I'm really not an angry person. That's why. No, but this is how somebody with Mars and Gemini, like that, let's just say it's in their natal chart, they may naturally act like this, where they would start out by talking about how it is that, you know, what it's like when you're in line and you're getting your cup of coffee. And then, of course, you know, yeah, it reminds me of the DMV. It takes forever. What do those guys do? All they do is just take your money and everything else, and you don't even really get anything. And then they pull you over when they want to have a fundraiser. And boy, don't even get me started on the FBI and everybody else. And you know, those things, it's like, and then you go through the drive-through, you're in there for 45 minutes. And then when you get your stuff, it's still wrong. A little bit of a complainer now, aren't we? Now, on the flip side of that, because it's Gemini, you got to look at both sides of the coin. Well, I really think that if we really try and expand what we're looking at, I think we can do a deeper dive and find some really good solutions for some of the problems that we have. We might not get there right away, but I think that we can learn as we go. And I think we can really build it into a very compassionate dynamic so that we have a better strategy the next time we're met with challenges.
Right.
That was ridiculously good. Listen, I'm gonna add some cheer and applause with that one. So you really could go either way with that. You know, so your therapy, you know, if you're coaching somebody through this, and self-speak is part of your coaching model, be aware you might get very extreme with this. You could also get down and dirty and really intelligent with this. I think that's the important thing here. I think that's something to really look at.
Yeah.
So,
and, you know, because it's in the 8th house, it's also about transformation. So we also have that kind of plutonic side, which is when you talk about getting down and dirty, it's actually about getting down to the real nitty gritties in your soul, in your psyche, and pulling them out and putting your entrails on the table for us to really look at and see what needs to be discarded and what we can keep.
And look at the springboard Mars just came out of, coming off of the Uranus
North Node,
you know, North Node conjunct there.
Conjunction. Yeah.
You know, so you've got a lot of passionate things here that allow us to really kind of recognize how this goes. And by the way, as it moves through into the 21st, by the way, flipping over to Virgo during that time, you know, 21st, 22nd, you know, Mars is going to cross over the moon. Well, your emotions are going to run high. You got to be really cautious with how you approach conversations. You got to be really clear. You got to measure twice. You got to cut once. You've got to have proper reasons for doing things. And, you know, you have to go in ready to eat a little crow and be humble. If you want it to work out, if you really want these conversations to go well, you got to be on your toes. By the way, horrible time to drink. Horrible time to get shit-faced. Excuse my French. And the reason why I say that is because you've got Sagittarius sitting there wide open.
Okay. Yeah.
And Sagittarius, of course, is that indicator of like, I'm going to live it up a little bit. I'm going to, whatever. This is not a good time because it's not going to, you don't have a natural balance going on. That's the only reason.
But we do have a Libra ascendant. So we do have some natural balance with that Libra ascendant. So
again, another reason why you don't want to be dehydrated. You don't want to be out of sync. You don't want to be out of balance. And what is drinking alcohol than throwing a wrench into your, into your dynamic with that? Like, you just don't want that.
I think there's an imbalance as well, because with Mercury in the 12th house, it's like Mercury in Virgo in the 12th house is thinking, oh, should I say this, or should I say it this way? Or perhaps I better keep quiet about that. And then you've got Mars saying, hey, I'm going to say it how it is. I'm just going to say it. And it's like this. So you've got this kind of almost like conflict between Mars and Mercury at this point.
Well,
and remember, Mercury will also go retrograde. It goes retrograde on the 10th of September until the 2nd of October. So it will move into Libra and then it will move back into Virgo.
Yeah, and I think it's I see the magic of it too, that maybe this is going to give you the opportunity to say things that you hadn't said otherwise.
Yes, well done.
Right? Because you've also got the dynamic. Thank you, everybody. You also have the dynamic here where, true to form, you've got to be able to recognize that, at the end of the day, people don't recognize that how challenged they are with having tough conversations. That's a thing. That's a real thing.
Say how you feel, to truly say how you feel. It's like when we see someone, I mean, this happens all the time. You go, how are you? I'm fine. Well, I was taught when I was training as a therapist that the word fine stands for fucking incapable of normal emotions.
Fucking incapable of normal emotions.
Because we don't actually say, well, actually, I'm pretty shit today. And I feel dreadful, and I'm worried about this, and I'm da, 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 da. Because actually people don't want to know. That's the truth of it.
We are so Teflon. We are so Teflon to the words of how are you today?
Yes.
And that, it's like a lot of people are razzing us and whatever, but that's kind of the sweet spot of you and I, when we're like, hey, how are you today? Actually, I'm kind of upside down.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm kind of having this trouble.
I want to ask you now, how are you today?
What's that mean? I'm fine. I'm very good physically. I'm feeling great, and I think that's part of the fire that you're feeling. Like I'm getting rested again.
What else is going on?
I'm getting my legs back underneath me. I mean, I'm here in the office. I'm not in the crappy. I mean, those videos. I mean, I think we're gonna go back and be like, well, if we need to ever trim any, those will be the ones when my foot is up and I'm sitting in a Barca lounger, sitting there going, Trump. But no, I'm feeling good, and it's about building up stamina when you have a major surgery like I've had. The foot is great. The wounds are healed. I mean, I'm really just nursing an Achilles at this point. And I haven't had this before in previous surgeries, to be brutally honest. Like, it took me forever to heal. Not this time. I did it the right way.
That's brilliant.
The right way. Follow doctor's orders.
And Dr. Penny.
Summit Foot Care in Latham, New York saved my foot. And it's my right foot, so it's about the action, and it's about doing things the right way, and it's about cleaning that up and all that other stuff. But you also begin to kind of recognize that, like, when you go through that healing thing, I took the opportunity to brush up and finish up a book. Right. I had probably 85% of it written. I needed to add in a few more things and then edit it and tailor it the right way. one of the challenges that I had with it was how much emotional release I had. Well, I had major surgery. I'm sitting there in the timeout chair. I turned that corner. It has been a month now, almost a full month. My doctor told me this is going to be 2 months before I could even walk on it. And now I'm walking around with just, a side crutch, basically a cane. And it's because I did everything the right way. His orders, he was good with it. So I feel great. I think that's part of the energy too, because I'm feeling like myself. When you're sick for a little while, and now I'm starting to realize, I go back and I look at some of the old videos. You actually pointed it out. You're like, you look like shit, dear. You look like shit in that one. Your eyes could only get you so far in that one. You look so tired. You look so haggard. I think you called me haggard, which I was like, oh, I'm so not going to flirt with you.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
I think I said you look like a homeless person.
Thank you very much. So I'm like, I'm that line in famous David Coverdale. Here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a hobo, I was born to walk alone. I was old school David Coverdale on that one. But, it's that excitement of this. I mean, I think you should be excited that Mars is in Gemini. Your caution is just overdoing it. And I think that's what it is. What do you want to get some tarot together and we'll wrap up with some tarot?
Yeah. Because how long you've actually been talking for quite a long time.
Quite a lot of time, quite less time.
We've been recording now for nearly 45 minutes.
Okay, well, that's kind of standard. We'll leave about 10 minutes here to talk about our tarot. I think we're right on time. I think you have been contributing beautifully to all of this, and you have been leading the conversation, actually. If you go back and look at this, I let you lead today.
Okay.
I do. Don't be upset with me if I took the grandstand and went with it.
No,
so what are we going to ask of our cards? What do you want to ask of our cards?
The truth.
Of what?
The truth about how you're feeling and how I'm feeling.
Okay. Here it comes.
Okay, so I'm
gonna want to shuffle. I'm gonna want to shuffle a few more times. So I'm only kidding. All right, we ready? Are we doing 3 cards?
Okay, we'll do 3 cards. Are we doing them for each? I mean, am I doing cards for you or am I doing cards for myself?
Do them for yourself and I'll do them for myself. Yes, and that way we can just kind of explain it.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me just put this down. There we go.
Such a day, right? All right, you want me to go first? Yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah, go on. You go first. I'm going to just... Oops.
The Chariot comes out. Now, the Chariot is Cancerian energy. It is water sign. It is go with the flow. When the ponies take off, they sometimes go in a bunch of different directions. Really kind of speaks to Gemini, Mars and Gemini a little bit, kind of a little bit of duality there. Then I pull out the Page of Swords. New mental outlook, new idea, a little fresh, kind of a little bit new for me. I really kind of like this. 2 of Pentacles. I'm getting practical. It is the business soulmate card. It is the one where the ship has come in. It is the one where you're balanced in energy and positive outcomes. I got to tell you, I feel great about where I'm at. I feel great about the new idea with the YouTube channel. I feel great about where things are. The readings, by the way, jump in, guys. I left up the special for another couple of days. So if you see this and you want to get a natal chart read, you still can for the summer discount. I feel really good about where I'm at with things. I know I'm taking off as I'm getting really good. And by the way, I know we talked about 3 cards, but I've been doing the work behind the scenes. I have change coming, death card, transformation, the Judgment card. And a lot of people think judgment is a pure word of judgment. It's actually known as the 2.0 card. The 2.0 card is the new you.
You're rebirthing.
That's the read on myself. What's that, love?
You're going through a birthing experience.
Fantastic. It's so much different coming out than going in. It's terrible. I can't believe it's just a different experience. All right, let's see your cards. Wait,
Right,
do you have additional interpretation? Because you know I'm going to give you mine. Ooh.
okay, well, I've got the moon, so I'm reflective, and I'm being the kind of shadow side to us today. You're all out there, and I'm kind of in the background going, are you sure? Is that okay? Is that what you
Dualities.
really feel? Okay, so
Yeah,
I think there's that.
dualities, sure.
And then we've got the Seven of Pentacles. So this is telling me I need to keep on doing what I'm doing, and it will bring me success.
Keep on keeping on, reap what you sow.
Keep on keeping on. And then, I have the sun. And
it's a strong Leo energy with that one.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty good, actually. Pretty, shows ultimate success. How would you interpret these three?
Well, I'm kind of laughing because had you pulled those cards for me, being a Pisces, that's the moon card, keep on keeping on, and then the sun is Leo rising.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
In application to you, I think it's you saying, listen, there's going to be good and bad with this. I just got to roll with it. I got to keep on doing what I'm doing. Your rising sign, when your rising sign comes out in tarot, what it traditionally means is that you're putting a step forward. You're getting public. You're getting bigger. You're going to take those tools out of your backpack that are like, you're built this way for a reason. And this is the time to tap into it. Being a Leo rising and pulling out your sun card, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah.
If you're just in a good place. And one of the things I really liked about the one of the last videos, because you've been really fastidious about it, and people are saying, oh, slow down putting things out, I can't keep up with it. That's not how it works in the YouTube world. In the YouTube world, you got to keep pushing it, you got to keep putting things out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I really liked is that you've gotten really tight with your explanations. You just are just like, here it is, and then you just go on to interpretation. It's like sweet. It's like, bam, like I'm getting good at this, and I don't care if you follow along anymore. I think it's great.
Thank you.
I really do. I think it's good. And I think it's also, it also speaks to the Seven of Pentacles. You couldn't do that without, when people analyze things like YouTube and whatever, they talk about how you need to have like 100 videos put together before you even learn like your lighting and everything else. This is like, this set behind me is not yet completed, but it's a work in progress because I'm like, okay, I got to see how this is. But this is the culmination of me watching other videos and see what people do well and seeing, all that stuff. You're doing the same thing, right?
Well, I've been doing it for just over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, and I've done 220 odd videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's just in the last probably 4 to 5 months that I'm really beginning to feel I understand what I'm doing in terms of the whole production side.
So basically when you met me, that's when things started to get better.
It's true. And I have to say, and I'm giving this to you, that through the videos we've done together, it's giving me far more confidence to just be myself and say it how it is.
Because listen, I'm going to tell you where this builds up is because behind the scenes I've said, this isn't good. You can't do it this way. And I've given you the honest, unfeathered truth. So when I tell you that's a really good thing, that it's a good thing. And by the way, not everything's 100%, over and over again. It's funny. I got into an exchange with somebody. I gave feedback and I said, hey, what you brought up was very interesting. I'm acknowledging it, but what are your suggestions? Because I felt like this person like comments on a regular basis and they're not like mean about it. They're just like, hey, I really like this, but I think you guys could do this better. And I fleshed it out a little bit, and their commentary and the intelligent conversation behind it was really about, you do this, but you only did it for so long. Like this therapy session in between all of this, I think is a great thing. It shows how great of a coach you are. I get to be my true actor self, I guess. But, things that can highlight like how we go about it is a really important thing. It's a super important thing because it's who we are. It's why we look forward to doing these videos.
Yeah, like me saying to you today, but are you sure that's how you really feel? Because I'm picking up something else, kind of thing.
Who, me?
Because that's what I was saying in our video today. I said, are you sure that you are being completely 100,000% authentic? Because I'm picking up there's something else behind the scenes that you might be actually angry about, but you can't bring it in, obviously, to this arena.
Who, me?
I could be wrong. Yeah, I could be
Oh,
totally wrong.
I'll tell you what my undercurrent is. I have no problem saying this. I just didn't want to make a show about it. I'm really done with the players in this business. I'm just done with it. I'm done with people that show you one thing, and then when push comes to shove, they show you something. They show you how good of a survival technique they are. Don't sit in somebody's camp for months on end, years on end, and just wait for them to, you know, spill a little Kool-Aid, and then you go, see, that's the reason why I can't hang out with you anymore. And you're like, okay. Yeah, it's just, I'm a big fan of punishment fitting the crime. I'm also a big fan of authenticity. I'm just done with it. I'd rather cut people loose, to be frank with you. I mean, and that's where this Mars and Gemini, I know exactly the conversations I'm going to have, and I know that I may, quote, regret them, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's an important thing. And I'm not saying people in my camp are bad. These are people that have already kind of removed themselves for whatever reason. But you don't, I mean, you know, here's a little hint to everybody. When you talk shit about a medium, they're going to find out. And it's not because the telephone group comes back. It's not like remember the game of telephone? You tell somebody and another one, and then you see how it comes back.
Oh, yes, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Like by the time it gets back to us, we actually have source things like, say, spirit, that basically go, don't you see this? Don't you see how this is happening? And it's annoying because it's like, why would you play that game? Right. And then, so it generally makes me annoyed, and I'm not trying to be rude about it or air grievances. I wouldn't do that to people. They know that, which is why they took advantage of it. But on the flip side of that, I know full well, as I'm reading this Mars and Gemini, I know where these conversations are going. I know I'm burning it down. By the way, plenty of bridge burning in that Mars and Gemini too.
Yes, I would agree with that. Also, I think with Mars in Gemini, because I'm talking about it from a personal point of view, having got Mars in Gemini natally, I think sometimes when you've got Mars in Gemini, you have lots of great ideas and you start them and then you don't complete them, because often through my life, that's what I've done. And now, because I'm consciously aware that I don't always follow through on something, I'm now saying I have to follow through on this.
You say that you need to follow through on things, because that's like an ongoing thing since I was born. It's funny, the follow through thing for myself is always, I just have to remember what I said earlier. I have to be very clear with my projects, one thing at a time, one category at a time. I'm a great dreamer. I'm a great person, you know, to tackle things. Yeah, Pisces. My Neptune placement augments it. You know, I also, what's that? I
think what also is interesting for Pisces, because as I've just finished recording September, it's still fresh in my head because the last one I did was Pisces. And Pisces, at the moment, Saturn is in the 12th house, if Pisces is on the first house, right? So Saturn is teaching inner boundaries. And then, of course, when Saturn moves into Pisces next year, you will learn with that Pisces there consciously to actually put those boundaries in place, which I think you are getting close to. You're already doing this.
I really am.
Become consciously aware of it.
I really am. I think one of the plights of, I love your observation in that. I think one of the plights of any light worker is recognizing where you left energy on the table. And it's not about being used. I mean, although you feel that way, you feel like you were used and you feel like you were a fool because you're like, how did I let that happen again? And, you know, and the challenge that I have is that somebody wanted to judge me. That's the only reason why they stayed in my court, is because they wanted to judge me. They wanted that thing of like, oh, see, I told you so. I was close at that one time and now I can do it like that. I think it's bullshit, because what they then tried to do was affect everything else around it because they were justified. And instead of having, oh, and by the way, they never had a conversation with me.
I just pulled this for you while you were talking as a
Yes.
kind of like, for what you're talking about, but I pulled this one. So I think this is your ability to rise above these things. You're actually able to, you can see through the crap. I think also, not just because you're a medium and a psychic, but I think because you are Pisces, and Pisces have an ability, if they can get out of their own crap, get out of the way of their own crap, they can actually see the truth.
Yeah.
And this to me is about this is the gold within you. This is like, there is a gold part to you, a real, that alchemical gold.
Yeah.
And why people try to undermine you is because of their envy, because they want what you've got. And they don't understand that you've worked hard to get what you've got.
Now you understand why I'm going to utilize this Mars and Gemini to say my piece and move on.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense? Does that wrap that up nicely? Because I think you're right. I appreciate that insight. I really do.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's your card for your career.
Okay. What's that?
I'm going to say it's upright. 10 of Pentacles.
Oh.
You're welcome.
By the way,
the next card's the 8 of Wands. Boom. Yeah. Do you want another one? New ideas. Don't be surprised if another project lands on your lap. You know, I'm your biggest cheerleader.
I know.
I got you, Penny. I really do.
I know you have my back.
Totally. Because that's the way the stuff rolls. It's like when you find gold like this, you run with it. And I hope other light workers see this and know that you have to form. We're doing this, guys. As much as we flirt with each other and we, kind of act like this, sometimes we're really, she's bringing her game, I'm bringing my game, and our game is together when you guys join us every week. So
and I'm going to say this before we end, because it's kind of brave, but it's saying something that concerned me a bit, was that because I've decided to add a tarot card into my astrology readings, that you might not like it.
Who, me?
Yeah, because you do it. But
no
we
way.
do.
Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
I'm being totally honest. I'm saying,
I think it's awesome.
Oh.
I think it's fantastic. So listen, and maybe this is just my maturity. This is my
evolution. More mature than me, probably.
This is my evolution. And it was, here it is. And this is kind of like the long scale of everything that I'm talking about, what I'm railing against. Mediumship, light workers, whatever genre this is, are the biggest backstabbing, arrogant, condescending, self-righteous, self-promoted bitches on the face of the earth. It is 97% women, and I'm not being derogatory about that. I'm being statistically
I know.
At a minimum, it's 95, right? And I felt from day one that I was a threat to that establishment. And it was a constant thing. And by the way, I'm not trying to be a martyr. I'm just saying that through my experiences, every time I had a nick in the fender, or every time there was a push to push me down, it was because I didn't fit in. Meanwhile, it talks about light and love and being of that, but they couldn't wait to point out that I was a male. They couldn't wait to point out that, oh, well, you have challenges like a guy and you were a little flirty or you were whatever. They can't wait to do that because then they say, oh, that's not spiritual. Meanwhile, them talking shit behind somebody's back, spreading rumors and creating an entire network to talk trash about you, including websites, for crying out loud. I had a group formed around it. Oh, Penny, it was horrible. It's a dynamic that when you bring it forward, not only are they not light workers, but they're incredibly lost. But I've also recognized that what some of the tools I used previous in life as a recruiter, it was lead follower, get out of the way. It was very alpha male. It was very all of those things. So maybe I was getting dripplings onto it and the other side of it. When I see somebody doing something that I could applaud, I'm going to tell you, I need to, as a teacher of whatever this gift is, it is truly about what is right for you. I got to do my job. And by the way, when I do my job, I'll be rewarded for that. I'm not going to get ahead because I say, well, Penny's not good at that. That makes me an asshole. That doesn't make me better at what I do, right? You know, I use great examples of, you know, people that I know that are, you know, we were talking about crystals earlier, and it was Sandy that sent me the message because she knows this stuff cold. She's a certified crystal healer. She's hearing it from the other room. And as soon as you bring up crystals, she's like, what's that? What's that? Did you say crystals?
Yeah.
And she sent me a text basically saying, this is what Kyanite is also used for. I mean, I know what it means to me. She knows the ulterior thing. And she's like, buddy, I need you to say this so that then you've got this out there. When you start to form relationships where people have your best interest, they send you a text to make sure you get it right, not to sit there and go like, I'm right and they're wrong. I'm going to tell them about it later. I've been surrounded by that for a long time. People that couldn't wait for me to fail. I once had somebody who was a handler that helped me out at shows that berated me after a 2.5-hour show, berated me the entire drive home because I didn't make something about her. Penny, that's when I said I need to clean this stuff up. I've got the wrong people around me. They were angry. They were vindictive. They were like, oh, they didn't understand that it wasn't about them, that it was about the gift. It was about the delivery. Does that make me look centered and focused? Okay. Does it make me look pompous or arrogant? Whatever. I'm just drawing a boundary saying I was given this gift. I have to protect it.
And I think it makes you authentic. And I think the reason I needed to say this live on our video is to show people also, which is what's coming to me now, that I constantly work on myself in terms of, am I doing this for the right reasons or the right motives? And so that my energy felt, if I use the tarot in my astrology readings, and bearing in mind I interpret them differently from anyone else is going to interpret the tarot, that it would actually give me more energy in what I'm doing, because I felt that my monthlies were getting a little bit samey, a little bit boring for me. Well, if I'm bored, everyone else is going to be bored. Yeah. So I decided to chop them all up. So they're all coming out as heads up shorts, that sort of series I do. And it would be like heads up Aries, September, and they get a tarot card at the end of the reading. And I so enjoyed recording them. But then my problem and my bit is, which is a bit that I have to constantly work on, is my anxiety. And maybe this is because other people in my past have been jealous or angry with what I do, and that I didn't want to upset you because your thing is using the tarot with the astrology. So that was my concern. So I thought, I've got to talk to him about this. I've got to tell him about this, because I don't want him to think that I'm trying to rob you of your way of doing it, but it just feels right for me at the moment to start doing it this way. I might get lots of comments from everyone saying, oh God, get rid of the tarot. You know,
it's funny.
That's me being
I'm going to actually bring this up. I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it now. So I have to tell you the story about, funny you should say that, about how the book became the book that it is. So I was doing, I want to pull up the actual cover here. I was doing mediumship shows. By the way, say that 3 times fast. Mediumship shows. And one of the things that I was doing was I was trying to brand it. I was trying to like describe what it was, right? And the dynamic that I had was basically that I would, this is a total sneak preview, by the way.
Okay.
I was totally in a position where I was becoming really well known in the area. Some people knew me for the classes, and I was doing a lot of these shows, and I was doing 2 a month, and, you know, strategically east, west, northwest, whatever. And I would have anywhere from 50 to 200 people at each one of these shows. So I'm building up locally, right? And I called them meditation and messages. I mean, this is 5-6 years ago. And meditation and messages at this cafe, meditation messages at this hotel, meditation messages at this, whatever.
Nice.
And I would come in, I would do a little meditation, and then we would just get into messages, right? But it was a segue. I shit you not, within 3 months, there were 8 other mediums doing meditation and messages. And I just smiled. I was like, okay, well, you know, being able to flatter that is great. So then I'm like, I'm going to one-up it. And I had this story about, and again, I'm going to tease it a little bit. You got to read the book, about when I got pulled over and I, you know, read this cop on the side of the road, and he said, funny you should say that. And it just stuck. And let me show you the cover here. So out of that progression was really about the conversation to me about being unique. So some of this actually had a really positive outcome, because what was happening was I had to become my own person, and I had to develop that thing. So when you go through things like this, it's very easy to point the finger back at them and say, you're a bad person. That's not my decision. That's not my decision. And by the way, can we get rid of trying to diagnose everybody under the effing sun? That's why I was so uncomfortable when we were talking about narcissism the other week, because people throw that around like they know what the hell they're talking about. Leave it to your therapist. By the way, I have 3 doctor's notes that I don't have any of those conditions that they said I have. Like, it's not true at all. You know what I needed to do? Not have shitty energy around me, because I don't act well. I act better when I have good people around me. So that's the album cover. That's the book cover. What's that?
I like the cover. I do like that. I like that. And my narcissism, because I have most of my life had a huge narcissistic front, because it was the only way I survived from a perspective of terribly low self-esteem. And I think that so many people do not understand narcissism now, because I'm fully aware of how my narcissistic self did work and screwed up my life big time, all the time, right? Now I can use it constructively to have the confidence to do what we're doing now, to have the confidence to run my YouTube channel, to have the confidence to work with a client, to have the confidence to say to you, Brandon, I hope you don't mind that I'm using the tarot as well.
You don't owe me a goddamn thing, though. That's the point. You've got to be your own. Being authentic isn't asking for permission. And by the way,
I know. Interesting, isn't it? That
as you become authentic, you need that period in your life where you do a couple of things. I'm even going to say 3 things. One of them, you rationalize your behavior, right? Second of all, you act a little inappropriate so that you understand your boundaries and what things could be. And it could be whether it's because somebody's acting upon you or whatever. And then the third thing is that you look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, that didn't work. And if you're intelligent enough to figure that out, you're going to become authentic. And by the way, I'm very happy that I'm where I'm at. I also reserve the right to not like how I got there. I'm not villainizing it. I can say I could have done better than that. I should have cut it off at different times. But those are the lessons I needed to know. And now that's what makes me authentic. That's what makes a person authentic. Am I 100% there? No way. Still a work in progress. By the way, let's be honest. Some of the fun stuff is the stuff you really shouldn't do. All right.
Oh, yeah.
But then it's also the very honest conversation. It's that mirror talk. It's that conversation with yourself where you're like, who do you want to be in all of this? It's how you become authentic.
And I think that, you know, maybe this is what I want to say to everyone out there is, you know, the more perhaps that you and I show our authenticity and show our warts as well as our, say, talents, then actually what we're doing is we're actually totally not being narcissistic. We're saying, look, we fuck up, we get it wrong. And
I just wanted to show you that I pulled the Knight of Cups out of the deck, randomly picking it up to confirm what your read was earlier. And I agree with you. I wasn't trying to cut you off there. I think we have to own it. And I know we talk a lot about our relationship and kind of how it comes together, but guys, you got to find people to bounce the stuff off of. You know, Penny is a wonderful coach in this. just, you know, I use the astrology to help you along in your path, as Penny does as well. I mean, that's really the vibe of what you're getting behind the scenes when you sign up for stuff with us, whether it be classes, whether it be readings, whether it be coaching sessions. Ooh, yeah, I got that coming up.
You know, this is where, and I will use the tarot sometimes in my consultations, because sometimes, like, you know, just to pull a card can reflect something of what is going on that needs to be kind of somehow in a picture.
Yeah.
And it says more than, you know, I mean, this is like, this is where I used to be. I would ignore the things that are uncomfortable and difficult that are behind me to talk about. So this is like, no, I've now taken off my blindfold, and I'm quite happy to basically stand up naked and say, this is who I am. And, you know, warts and all.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, fine.
I mean, listen, I want to thank you for your, you know, you think it's early morning, but it's like 4 o'clock in the morning for me. Early morning pictures. Thank you so much. Great thing to wake up to. It's like, oh, that's not an alarm. That's Penny's. those are Penny's dials. I don't know what that is. But the Two of Swords is also a Gemini card.
Yes.
The timing of it is Gemini. And you know, you've got the moon there, which is following your intuition. You had to trust your gut to get yourself through it.
There's Mars in Gemini.
Second time. Hey, listen, there you go. Well, it's funny because I pulled the death card. So this is about transformation. Welcome to the 8th house, everybody.
That is awesome.
Quick and sudden change.
Awesome.
All right, listen, we got to sign off. We're going on 6.5 hours here. People won't watch this long. I hope you guys found this very interesting. Thank you again so much. And again, we talk about politics because it's the condition of the world. We talk about one another because it's what we know best. And we just want to remember, you guys, as we do the hard tap, we want to tell each other to inspire one another, encourage each other, and remind one another to simply keep going. Penny, an honor as always.
Thank you, Brandon.
We'll see you soon. Thanks for the pictures. What?